Alright, this one is for Week 2 Language Arts. You guys have 5 more quick writes that are due by Friday. You guys also have new IXLs. I think there's just one this week. You have IXL F1, which is about literary devices. So this one is about similes and metaphors. You guys had a lot of practice on them, so it should be super easy for you guys. And you also have the Buckle Down, page 73 through 86, which I know is going to be probably really boring for you guys because it's a lot about plays. But I promise you'll get through it because you guys have a whole week to do this packet when in class we would have had like a day, maybe 2 days. So just consider yourself lucky. Just saying. So on page 73, it talks about dramas. Many books and stories are made into plays, movies, or television shows. These are called dramas. Dramas are stories written to be performed by actors. Sometimes this means acting on a stage. Other times it means acting in front of a camera. This part of the lesson will explain how plays are different from other kinds of stories. Most writers of short stories and novels must include all kinds of information about their characters for the reader. Story writers described how characters look, dress, and behave. They also write about the setting of their stories, time of day or night, time of year, location, weather, and so on. In a stage play, movie, or television show, the writer provides this information only to the director and the actors. People in the audience see the setting and what the actors are wearing. The audience watches the actors' actions and hears their voices. Playwrights can give the reader many kinds of information during the story: how a character feels, what a character thinks, and why a character acts in a certain way. Instead of all this information must be presented to the audience through the actors' actions and dialogues. Remember, dialogue is what they're speaking. At the bottom of page 73, there are drama terms that I will let you guys read on your own. I'm not going to read all of them to you because you guys should know what most of them means. So I'm going to skip that. Page 74, tip 7. Dialogue helps the audience understand the play. The dialogue of the play is very important and must not only tell the audience what the character feels, thinks, have done, and plan to do, but it also helps the audience follow the plot of the play. Tip 8. Stage directions tell actors where and how to move. Stage directions tell how the set should look and how and where the actor should move on stage. Playwrights also use stage directions to give information about lighting, scenery, and even the characters' expressions. These directions are usually printed in italic type and placed inside parentheses. You guys should know what parentheses are, especially because you guys are doing algebra and math. Directions. Look at these lines from the play Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. Saavedra, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that. Adapted and written for the stage by Gordon Mertz. Then answer number 15. So it says, Innkeeper, as you wish, seats the 2 men, grabs a loaf of bread, and tosses it onto the table. Your feast, my lords. Quixote, magnificent. Compliment the chefs of your kitchen. Sancho, we dine in splendor this night. Panza, rolling his eyes. We choke down moldy bread is more like it. So which of the following is an example of stage directions? Remember, the stage directions are in parentheses. It tells the actor what to do. Number 16, in your own words, explain the difference between a story and a play. Because remember, a story is like what we read in books, and a play is something that the people on the TV or whatever uses that has the stage directions. So, kind of just told you the answer a little bit. Tip 6 on page 75. Explain how paragraphs and scenes fit together to form the story's structure. By now, you have probably read chapter books and even full-length plays. You may have even noticed that things that happen in the beginning of the story affect what happens at the end of the story. Often different chapters in a novel or scene in a play take place in different settings. As you read, think about how these pieces fit together and provide a structure in the story and form an interesting plot. Directions. Read the following scenes from Hamlet. You will answer some questions that will help you explain the structure of the play. If you have trouble understanding this play, try performing the play with your classmates. You don't have to do that, obviously, because we're not in class. But I will tell you, Hamlet was written by Shakespeare, so this is a super old play in old-time English, which you're probably not going to completely understand. If you guys want, I know there are kid versions of this online if you would rather go and read that, but I'm going to read it and try to explain it the best that I can. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. The cast is Hamlet, who is the Prince of Denmark. Horatio, his best friend, recently returned from abroad, so that means he was traveling and came back. Marcellus is a castle guard, and the ghost is Hamlet's dead father. So it says Act 1, Scene 4. The Roman numeral I and V is 4. And it says at night outside the castles. Those were stage directions of the setting. It says Hamlet. The air bites cleverly. It is very cold. Horatio. It is nipping and cutting air. Hamlet. What hour is it now? Horatio. Just short of 12. Merciless. No, I think it's struck, which means like on a clock when it strikes a new hour, you know, it usually like dings or something. Chimes, whatever. Horatio. Indeed, I did not hear. If so, it draws near the time when the spirit has been known to walk. A trumpet blasts from inside the castle. What's that? Hamlet. It's just the king, my stepfather, strutting around as usual with his bootlicking friends. And then you see where it has that 1 next to bootlicking. If you go down to the bottom of page 76, it says 1, bootlicking, following around a powerful person in order to receive favors. Horatio, is this the rule? Hamlet, yes, and I am now the exception. So it has the little 2. So if you go down to the 2, exception, to be left alone. Our court is now known for such empty celebrations. It's a blot on our reputation, just as certain heroes' honor is stained by some grave flaw. Enter Ghost. Horatio, look, my lord, it comes. Hamlet. Angels and ministers of grace defend us, whether you are a good spirit or an evil goblin, coming with purposes of wicked or charitable. Your form is such that I must call you Hamlet. King. Father, answer me. Tell me why your bones, blessed and buried, have returned, why you have left your casket. What does this mean? That your dead body walks again beneath the pale moon. So Hamlet is basically asking the ghost, which is his dead father, why are you here as a ghost? Why didn't you go on into whatever spiritual world they believed in? Why didn't you move on? Why are you here? Ghost calls Hamlet. Horatio. It calls you to go away with it, as if it needed to speak to you alone. Marcellus. Look how politely it seems to wave to you to come along. Whatever you do, don't go. Horatio, don't go. Hamlet, if it won't speak, I must follow. Horatio, please don't. Hamlet, why? What do I have to lose? I do not care for my life here on earth. If it waves, I will follow. So they're basically telling them not to go, because they don't know what the spirit wants, and it could be dangerous. And Hamlet is saying that he doesn't care. He's going to go anyways. If it wants to speak to him, let it. Horatio. What if it lures you into the lake or over some cliff and then takes some other, far more terrible form? Think of it. Hamlet. It waves. Go on. I'll follow. Merciless. You shall not go. Hamlet. Let go of me. Horatio. Please, friend, do not persist. Hamlet. My fate cries out, stealing my nerves. Let go of me, gentlemen. I'll make a ghost of him that won't. I say, go away, go on, I'll follow. Exit Ghost in Hamlet. Horatio. He's desperate. Marcellus. Let's follow. It would be wrong to obey him now. Horatio. What will happen? Merciless. Something is wrought in the state of Denmark. And they both exit. Scene 5. So a V in Roman numeral is 5. Enter Ghost in Hamlet. Hamlet. Where do you lead me? Speak. I'll go no further. Ghost. Listen to my words. Hamlet. I will. The Ghost. The hour is almost come when I must leave. Hamlet. Poor Ghost. Ghost. Don't pity me, but listen close to what I have to say. Hamlet. Speak, I will listen. Ghost. You will look for revenge when you hear. Hamlet. What? Ghost. I am your father's spirit, doomed to walk the night until my sins are cleansed by pain. Ah, I am not allowed to tell the secrets of my prison house, but if I could, they would freeze your blood and make every hair on your head stand on end. Instead, just listen if you ever did love your father. Hamlet. Oh, please. Ghost. Get revenge on his foul and most unnatural murder. Hamlet. Murder? Ghost. Murder most foul, as it always is, but in this case, foul, strange, and unnatural. Hamlet. Hurry your tale, so that I, with wings as swift as thought, may quickly get my revenge. Ghost. I know you will. Now, Hamlet, hear. It is told that, while sleeping in my orchard, a serpent stung me. All the ears of Denmark are now ringing with this lie. The serpent that stung your father's life now wears his crown. So, what he's trying to say was that while he was sleeping, this person killed him, and now the person is the king of Denmark now. So basically they killed him to take his place. Hamlet. Oh, my soul, my uncle? Ghost. Yes, that beast with his wicked skill did steal my wife, the queen. Her love turned from me and our marriage vows to that lowly serpent as if feeding on garbage. But I must be brief. Morning draws near as I sleeping in my orchard. Your uncle sneaked up with a bottle of poison and poured the liquid into my ear. Like quicksilver, it has little 3, so let's go down to the side note. Quicksilver, mercury, a slick metallic liquid that can move on its own. Like quicksilver, it coursed through my body, curdled. It has little 4, so let's get on to the 4. Curdled turned to cheese. So, curdled my blood. So it's basically saying his blood curdled the cheese, so it looks like cottage cheese. And stopped my heart. Oh, horrible, most horrible. If you are a man, do not let this pass. But I command you, perform no ill deed against your mother. Let her soul work out of its curses. Now I must leave. The morning light is coming. Whatever you do, remember me. Exits. Hamlet. Remember you? What else can I do? Remember you. From my memory, I'll wipe out everything else, all that I so patiently copied in school. That villain. Oh, here's the first note I shall take down. Gets out his tablet, and kneeling, begins to write. And when it says tablet, it's not the tablet that you're thinking of, like an electronic device. It is, like, usually a piece of wood or stone that they, like, carve into, or it could be a piece of paper that they write, depending on what they had. That one may smile and be a villain. Stands. So it seems it may be in Denmark. So on 17, it's saying, describe the setting of Act 1, Scene 4. So if you look back where it says Act 1, Scene 4, and it gives the stage directions of at night outside the castle, that was them giving you the setting. So you can write that. Summarize the events that happened in Act 1, Scene 4. So in the first act, remember that Hamlet and Horatio are waiting for the ghost And then the ghost calls out to Hamlet, and Hamlet ends up following it. 19, describe the setting of Act 1, Scene 5. It's still at night, and they're still outside the castle, so I don't really think you need to change your answer from 17 to 19. They should be the same one. 20, summarize the events that happened in Act 1, Scene 5. The ghost, which is Hamlet's father, told Hamlet about what happened the night that he died and asked Hamlet to please seek revenge on what happened. 21. How do the events in Act 1, Scene 4 lead to the events in Act 1, Scene 5? So in Scene 4, they were waiting on the ghost, and then the ghost finally calls out to them. And then in Scene 5, they are finally able to talk to the ghost and find out why this ghost has been wandering around outside of the castle. 22. Compare how Hamlet reacts to seeing the ghost to his friends. Reactions. Okay, remember I was talking about how Horatio and the other guy were telling Hamlet, don't go, you don't know what he's gonna do, he could harm you, and then Hamlet's like, nah, I'll be fine. Okay, on top of page 80, tip 10, compare and contrast how characters speak. Do you speak in the same way that your parents do? Do you use the same kinds of words and phrases that your friends do? Have you traveled to a different state, met people from other states, and realized that people of different ages and different places may speak differently, yet they'll all speak English? Do you ever choose to use words and phrases when speaking with your coach and other words and phrases when speaking to your friends in the mall? Authors specifically have their characters speak based on where the character comes from, how old the character is, and in what type of setting or situation the character is in. This is closely tied to the setting of the story. Would it make much sense if a story took place in Oregon and a character spoke with a southern dialect, so basically speaking with a southern accent? Not really. Number 23. How would you expect a 10-year-old boy who is talking to his teacher about an assignment to speak? What kind of words and phrases would he use? So you're going to put something. And then it goes on to say, you may have said that the boy would use polite, formal words associated with the classroom. Now, me and you both know you guys probably wouldn't have said that. You guys would probably said something with an attitude. So, take a look at the following excerpts from Tom Sawyer. It says, scene, Hannibal, Missouri, about 1840. From a neighborhood street along which stands a picket fence. Ben, hello, old chap. They've gotten you working, hey? Tom, turning to Ben. Why, it's you, Ben. I warn't noticing. Ben, say, I'm going swimming. Don't you wish you could? Course, you'd rather work, wouldn't you? Tom, surveys his work as an artist would view a painting in progress. Tom, depends what you call work. Ben, why, ain't that work? Tom, back to whitewashing. Maybe it is and maybe it ain't. All I know is it suits Tom Sawyer. Ben, come on now. Don't on like you like it. Tom, still working. Don't see why I shouldn't like it. Does a boy get to whitewash a fence every day? 24. Write down the word and phrases that are different from the way someone your age and from your state would speak. So I know there was several words and phrases that were said that we don't just say, like, and he calls him like a chap or something like that. Old chap, and then weren't noticing. We don't say weren't, we say weren't or wasn't. And then number 25, how would someone your age from your state speak those words? So instead of old chap, they'd probably say like bro. And then weren't noticing, we'd say, like I said, weren't, didn't, something else. Alright, so it goes on to say, the way a character speaks also makes the character more believable. The passage about Tom Sawyer takes place in Missouri in 1840. Suppose a character spoke like this. Ben, hey man, they got you working, huh? Tom, turning to Ben, whoa, don't you be sneaking up on me like that. Ben, Hey, I'm gonna go swimming. Jealous? Guess you like working. These lines might sound more like a kid speaking these days, not in 1840. As you read dramas, stories, and even poems, consider how the characters speak and if it is appropriate to the time, place, age, and setting of the characters. We're going to skip number 26 and everything else on the rest of the page we are not going to do. So on the top of page 82, directions. The passage is about being the new kid out of school. Read the passage, then answer numbers 1 through 8. This is called No Excuses by Rick Zollo. On his first day of school, Jimmy Webster showed up in baggy pants, wore his cap sideways, and announced on the playground, "I am the man." He swaggered from group to group, introducing himself and tapping fists with anyone he thought worthy of attention. Some of the boys knocked fists at Jimmy and thought he was cool. Others looked at him like he was crazy. Finally, a girl named Belinda walked up to him and asked, "What are you, some kind of clown?" "What?" Jimmy replied, wrinkling his nose and twisting his face as if he had just taken a sip of sour milk. "You don't just come to a new school and acting like you're king of the playground on your first day," Belinda explained. "You've got no excuse for doing that." "Girl, I don't make excuses. I don't know what you're talking about," Jimmy insisted. Belinda grabbed his cap and put it on his head sideways. Then she started wobbling around like he had just come off the tilt-a-whirl ride at the amusement park. Sounding like Jimmy, she said, "I'm the new dude that's going to roll." Handing Jimmy his cap, she whispered sharply, "That's what I'm talking about, and I'm not your girl." After that, Jimmy began to wear his cap straight and walk a little less flash. Jimmy and Belinda were in the same 5th grade class. She paid a lot of attention to the teacher, raised her hand when she had a question or knew an answer, and took plenty of notes. At first, Jimmy would snort and humph every time Belinda raised her hand. "Are you trying to impress somebody?" he whispered. "No, I'm just trying to learn something." "I know what you're up to," said Jimmy. Without looking at him, she mumbled, "You just think you do." Although Jimmy was soon well liked at his school, somehow he didn't feel right. Pretty soon, he ignored all the kids on the playground. He decided that he didn't like this place, but his parents had bought a house in the neighborhood, and now Jimmy felt stuck. Belinda saw how quietly Jimmy was becoming and knew why. The truth was, Belinda had moved here from Merstown 6 months before Jimmy. She came at the end of the school year. Although she had been a very good student at her former school, she was in the middle of her new class here. Plus, Belinda was very shy. It took her a while to make friends. She studied hard all summer, mostly by reading. She decided that she needed to read every day for 2 hours. While sticking to that plan, she met Lisa Carter at the public library. Lisa became her friend, and they found they had lots to talk about. When she started 5th grade that fall, Belinda felt comfortable, and thanks to her summer of reading, she was once again near the head of her class. "Okay, Jimmy, what's your problem?" Belinda asked. It was afternoon recess, and Jimmy was leaning on the fence, looking at the ground. "What?" Jimmy replied. "Oh, you. What's your problem?" "No, Jimmy, what's your problem?" "I don't have any problems." "Jimmy, when you first got here," Belinda said, "you were acting like you owned the place." I was just putting on a little show," he said. "Jimmy, you're a good guy. You've got your own style." "Yeah," Jimmy said, "but you put me down for my style." "I was just trying to get you to keep it real, Jimmy." "And you were saying I wasn't real?" "No," Belinda said. "I was saying you didn't have to try that hard. The person I see now is not the real Jimmy Webster." "Are you making excuses for me?" Jimmy asked. "No, Jimmy. People like us don't get to make excuses. We're the new kids here. We've got to make it with what we've got. We might have to work a little harder, but that might be the best thing that can happen to us." Belinda raised her fist. Jimmy smiled a broad smile. Then he tapped his fist with her fist with his, and they walked onto the playground together. Number 1. Which of the following best describes Belinda's actions in classroom? You guys should know that. Why does Jimmy snort hump every time Melinda raises her hand? So in the classroom, Melinda will always raise her hand when she knows the answer, when she has a question. So why would Jimmy be annoyed by that? How does Melinda feel about Jimmy at the end of the passage? So look at the beginning and how they felt, and then at the end and how they felt. In the beginning of the passage, the author says Jimmy swaggered. What does the word swaggered mean? You guys know what it means when somebody walks with swagger. You've heard that expression, I'm sure. But if you haven't, swagger means they kind of have a fancy way of walking that they think they like are really cool and stuff like that. On the top of page 85, it says directions. Follow the following questions. Remember to respond using complete sentences. So that means it has a capital and punctuation, and you're not starting sentences with and or but. It says, based on the author's description in the passage, compare and contrast Jimmy's actions before and after Belinda grabs his cap. Use two details from the passage to support your response. So you're going to say, at first, Jimmy blank, and you're going to say something that happened in the passage, but then blank. Something along those lines. So like Jimmy swaggered from group to group. That was something that happened in the beginning. But then after Belinda talked to him, he began to wear his cap straight and walked a little less flash. That's an example. You could write that if you want. You're welcome. Number 6, explain the events in the beginning of the story affect the story's outcome. So basically it's asking you how Belinda's actions in the beginning affect how Jimmy was feeling in the end. Last page, 86. Number 7, compare how Belinda acts at school to how Jimmy acts when he first comes. So again, you're just comparing, contrasting more. I'm not going to explain it because you should know by now. And then you guys do not have to do number 8. And I know that was super long and probably super boring, but we got through it. You're fine. And that is it for Language Arts Week 2.